You know you're in league play when you win a game like you did on Saturday, and by Sunday morning before church, you're already worked up and consumed and concerned with the next opportunity. But real happy for our guys right now, and real happy, not just happy for them, but happy because of who they are. Saturday's win was, some people judge teams based on records. I judge teams based on what I see, not who they play or what the records are. I think Vanderbilt's real good. I think now that they're healthy again, you're going to see a team that's kind of going to start playing the way they did early in the year, where they were just beating people by 50. So that's a good win for our guys, but, it's behind us now. It's we guys were great yesterday with the day off. They came in for what we call regen, which is they just come in and get with our trainer, and they do different things to kind of try and help their body heal. And now we got to practice. We got to go for the next 2 days, travel tomorrow, and who knows what's going to be going on in Tuscaloosa based on the outcome of tonight's game for them. So I can only imagine if they win tonight, that every football fan and player and Saban and the trophy and everything will be inside that gym Wednesday night. So I'm anticipating with a win for them, just an unbelievable environment that we're going to walk into, given that they're a pretty good basketball team. A lot of experience. Avery's got those guys playing at a high level. You're talking about a team that's got, you can argue that they've got more game experience than us based on their whole roster top to bottom. But that's okay. It's that's what league play is all about.
Frank, you look at Alabama, they're still very physical, still like to try to keep games, low scoring. How much of Anthony's thumbprint is still on that program?
Yeah, I mean, that toughness, that's I don't want to say that's why there's been an easy transition. I don't, that's not fair for me to say because I'm not in there. I don't know how that's gone. But his team, Anthony's teams, played very hard. They were trained to compete, and they competed. And obviously Avery's got them right there, and he's got them playing with a lot of confidence. And, Basahan has taken his game to a completely different place. He's a junior, been playing a lot, started for a bunch, and played major minutes his first 2 years in college. He's figured it out. Obviously, Avery's and his staff have placed a lot of confidence in that young man, the way he's attacking and playing right now. But it goes on down the line, whether it's Kessens or Hale or Taylor, Coleman, Riley Norris, take your pick. They've all been exposed to SEC basketball, and they've won in SEC basketball. We're not talking about a team that finished in last place the last 3 years. They've been a top half of the league every single year, and it's those guys understand, and Avery and his staff have done an unbelievable job getting those guys to play the way they got them playing.
Avery was always kind of known as a little general when he was out on the court, and then take that into the NBA. Have you seen in any other ways, kind of to the same question, some of the things that he's put onto this team so far?
There's no doubt. Avery. The day I met him, he was the coaching the Brooklyn Nets, and he was at the Peach Jam watching his son play. And I just went up to him. I said, Avery, I just got to tell you, you don't know this, but I've been one of your biggest fans just because of where you come from, who you are, and what you've gotten done. And he started laughing. He goes, well, I'm a fan of yours too. And, and so we ended up having a long conversation, and we exchanged numbers that day, and we've remained in touch since. And I'm not surprised. Avery's a winner. He's been a winner his whole life. He's about the right things. When you watch teams play, you can tell whether the guy in charge or not has those guys believing, and he's got those guys believing right now.
Frank, you talked after last game about the ride that these guys have you on, just especially this group of seniors and some of your juniors. Was there ever a point over the last 3 or 4 years that, you know, they seemed to be kind of frustrated with the way things were going, or have they always had the same attitude?
Well, if they've been frustrated with anything this year, we need to check their brains. You know, it's of course they're frustrated. My 16-year-old at home is frustrated every single day. It's when I was 18, I was frustrated. Things didn't work out the way I wanted them to, as fast as I wanted it to work out. It's you know, but that's where you have to build trust. You know, players need to know that coaches are in it with them. That they're not concerned with the score of the game, that they're concerned with helping them find success. And our staff works real hard at being consistent with who we are and not treating players based on the score of a game. We're consistent with our expectations. We're consistent with the lessons. We're consistent with the message. And they soon realize that if they invest trust in what we're doing, that we're going to trust them. And then it becomes a whole lot of fun, because you're going to have days where things don't work out. But you know that you got a bunch of guys that are in it with you, regardless of that score. And I think we've gotten to that place as a program. I'm not going to tell you we're there yet from that mentality, but that's when I'm talking to you about the ride. I'm not talking about 15-0. That's you know, like I said earlier today in the SEC conference call, 14-0 wasn't helping us in the middle of that Vanderbilt game. Who we've become over the last 3.5 years, that's what helped us in the middle of that game. And that's when I say the ride, that's what I'm talking about. Those kids is their growth, their continued commitment to one another, their belief in what we do. You know, when you start seeing something that wasn't like that start kind of taking shape in that direction, it makes it a whole lot of fun to be around.
What would you say the biggest challenge for this team going forward to keep this run going would be?
Just continue to stay in the place of who we are. You know, that's students got back on campus this weekend. Let's not get wrapped up into popularity contests on campus. Let's you know, when peer pressure comes calling, you know, that one friend of yours that's in your chemistry class or whatever says, hey, Friday night, man, I know you guys got a game Saturday at home, you know, great party. Why don't you come over to the party with me? Well, they're going to say, okay, let me go hang out for a little while because I'm 18, 19 years old, and that's what people our age do. Or, no, I'm going to go in the gym and get me 500 shots because tomorrow I've got to make a couple of these. That's right now we're in the place where we're not going to pay attention to the party. We're going to go in the gym. But then again, for the last month, there's been no one on campus. So it's been some lonely parties on campus. And you know, we've got to stay engaged in who we are from that perspective.
I know we talked about it after the Auburn game, but is there anything in particular that Marcus Stroman's done that you've seen, just whether it's a confidence level rising or an understanding of the system better? Last 3 games, it seems like it's been the best of the year. He's
playing good. He's a sophomore. You know, you know, his freshman year was interrupted with health, and he figured out a way to get on the floor and play. And bless his soul, the courage that he had as a true freshman. You know, we're down to 7 guys, and he kind of knew, like, man, I got to play. And he did it on his own. He was healthy enough to play, but I don't know how he did it. You know, he was great in the offseason. I don't mean good. He was great. His you know, his work ethic, his approach, his mentality, his willingness to help the young guys, his personality. And then for whatever reason, season started, and he kind of, I don't want to say he went into a shell, but he practiced pretty good, but then he just wouldn't be very aggressive in games. And then that started impacting his practices. But he came back from Christmas. Sometimes when you're not doing things real good, I remember when I used to try to study, I'd get stuck with something, and I'd just leave. I'd go work out. I'd go do something. and I come back and try and study again, and more times than not, I figured out what the problem was that I couldn't figure out before. And those 4 days off for Christmas, I think, did him good, just to kind of take a step back and regather his thoughts, not be worried about performing in a practice or a game. And he's been real good since we got back from Christmas. He didn't play well against Francis Marion, but he practiced real well going into that game. And we were hard on him. We were hard on him after that game against Francis Marion because he just played with no confidence, and that's not how he practiced. And he did something right because he's played real well since then, and we need him to keep doing that for us.
There was a moment in the second half where PJ scored a couple buckets. Was that something you said to him specifically in the timeout before that, or was that just PJ being PJ, obviously, to get his confidence up here in conference play?
No, I said some other things to him, and it wasn't about scoring the ball. And that's what makes him such a special guy to be around. He wants you to coach him. He doesn't want you to let him be who he is. He wants you to challenge him to get better. He's consumed with our team winning. And there was a timeout in the second half, and he didn't start the second half real well. And there was a timeout in the second half, and he kind of jumped in the timeout. He goes, hey, man, we're not losing this game now. We're not losing. And when I heard him say that, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to find out where he's at with his words. And we put him back in. And I started calling things on offense that would kind of give him an opportunity to be aggressive and attack. And he did. And give him credit. He made those plays. And not only there, but then he became more aggressive defensively. And he came up with some long rebounds and some steals. And, he had a couple open court opportunities that we didn't convert. But it got us playing more aggressively on offense. And he's an awesome kid. He's fun to coach. When you coach real good players in today's day and age, that the beginning of that relationship, sometimes it's not real good. And it's not with me. You look around the country with anybody. The beginning is challenging sometimes because they think that they can still do some of the things they did in high school, and that doesn't lead to success in college. It might get them numbers, but it doesn't lead to your team winning in high school. And getting those young, talented guys to understand that it's not about me anymore, it's about we, is the difficult part of the beginning of that relationship. And he's been a stud. He's been a champ from day one with that.
Frank, getting back to Marcus, I think he had that big three-pointer the other night. Getting on the floor early in his career, he's mostly been kind of a point guard, not a scorer. Do you want him to shoot more, or are you comfortable with how he plays right now?
Yeah, what he can't do is hold the ball. It's everybody gets consumed with scoring. Being aggressive on offense doesn't mean that you shoot. It means that you're prepared before you receive the ball. So when the ball arrives, your mind has already made the decision whether I'm in a shoot, pass, or drive situation. Any of them three is always the right choice, even when it's not the right choice. But there's one choice that's always the wrong choice, which is hold the ball. Don't shoot it, don't pass it, don't drive it. Anytime you attack the defense and you get the defense moving from side to side and somebody becomes aggressive and there's a pass made, now you got the defense in a scramble mode. Don't hold the ball. Marcus was holding the ball before Christmas. He wouldn't shoot it, wouldn't drive it, wouldn't pass it. What we're seeing here since Christmas is that he's been driving the ball, gotten to the foul line, and obviously in that situation you're talking about, he was ready to let it go before the ball got to him. I mean, he didn't catch, look. He was ready to roll, and that ball was coming, and he stepped right into the ball and let it fly, and it went bottom of the net. And that's the aggressiveness I'm talking about. So he's got to be prepared to be a good offensive player is what he needs to be.
Sin talked about after Auburn that it's obviously not about him. It's just been his game to step up over the past few days. But he's had to step up. And, is this just a continued evolution of him as a player? Is he just becoming that all-around guy that you kind of expect him to be by his junior year?
Yeah, I learned a lot about him last year. He came in as a freshman. Listen, every team in the country has a guy that scores points and grabs rebounds. Some teams win 27 games. Some teams win 5 games. They all got a guy that puts up numbers. You know, his freshman year, we weren't a pathetic team, but we were just a team trying to figure stuff out, and he put up pretty good numbers because he played the game the right way. Last year, I learned a lot about him because we started kind of winning a little bit last year. I just had a national guy ask me, what's the biggest difference between this year and the last 3 years? I said, you watch our team the last couple of years, or you just watch a Saturday for the first time? He was banged up last year now. He wasn't hurt where he needed surgery, and what he was dealing with was not something that you can put him in a cast or a brace. What he was dealing with was just constant pain from tendonitis, and that's not a comfortable place to be in. And he wouldn't take a day off of practice, wouldn't sacrifice our style of play, how we wanted to play. That told me a lot about who he is. And there were moments last year now where he got real frustrated. And the games would start, and now you're a coach. You don't remember the fact in the middle of the game that he's been struggling with this discomfort, and there's some plays that we wanted him to go make that he wouldn't even try. So it made it for a couple difficult moments from coach and player. However, he never once dropped his head, never once said, you know what, man, I ain't dealing with this. He'd come back the next day and try his best to be a little better, even though his body wouldn't respond. And then, he was great in the offseason. He's been great in the locker room, leading, a lot more vocal than he's ever been, a lot more encouraging than he's ever been. I told you guys earlier, I don't know if he's going to keep making shots and averaging whatever he's averaged over his last 3 games. I got no idea. I hope so. Don't get me wrong. But he wasn't making shots earlier in the year, and I wasn't worried about it because I knew he was playing the game the right way. All that stuff will come, and he's last 3 games he's made shots, and when you make shots, your stat line looks good. When your stat line looks good, then it looks like you played well, and he's been playing well for a while. He's just starting to put up numbers now.
So, Frank, I was going to ask you the biggest difference between the last couple of years and this year question, so I'm going to pull an audible. But I want to know now, 15-0, what has been the biggest reason why your team is 15-0 compared to maybe the last couple of years? What has pushed your team over the edge here?
Is it okay if year one's just a wash? Is that okay if we just kind of make that a wash? Our second year, we were in a bunch of games. Guys didn't know how to do anything. It's like, it'd be like us playing our 5 freshmen every game this year with no upperclassmen to show them the way. They don't know. They're not trying to do things wrong. They don't understand. They've never been through it. The sense of urgency, watching film, all those things, how to practice. They don't understand any of those things. And that group of guys was trying to figure it out, and yet we went out and kind of fought people, but we also had games where we just couldn't keep up with people. I remember we had a couple games that year where we just, at Auburn, for example, we were just non-competitive. We didn't belong on the floor that night. Then last year, we started getting to a place where we were in those games with 3 minutes to go. And we won more than we lost, but we also left 5 or 6 games on the table where that win total could have been 22, 23, or 21, or 20, or whatever. But we weren't ready to be able to win consistently in those hard-fought, close games like we did against Vanderbilt. Does that mean that for the next 15 games we'll be able to figure that out? I got no idea. But for the first 15 this year, all those lessons, those guys staying the course. You got to learn. I'm a big believer, and I said this the other day, and it's how I live my life. Nothing good ever comes easy in life. And if you fall victim to thinking that it's easy, then you're going to end up failing. You have to earn your way through things. You have to go out and earn respect. You have to go out and earn the opportunity to win. And our guys have done that, and that doesn't start like the day after a loss. That's an everyday thing that you have to do. And our guys have been doing that for 3 years. And, we preach, try and get better every day. Focus on today. Forget yesterday. Just let's get better today. Let's just do whatever we have to do. As coaches, we try to bring it every single day, because it wouldn't be fair for me to ask our guys to practice that hard and play that hard, and then I just stand on the sideline or sit on a chair and have a conversation with somebody who's visiting practice. You know, we try to bring it every day. So our players, when they leave here, they say, I got to bring it, because these old guys, they bring it every single day. And that's the kind of trust and responsibility we've been fighting hard to build, and we're still not there. But it's a heck of a lot further ahead than it was 2 years ago and a year ago. And so for the first 15 games this year, I think that trust is what's helping us get over the hump, for lack of better words.
Frank, I think you guys are still first in the SEC in attempted free throws. Just how good is that for the system to be able to get to the line consistently?
That's all my years where I've been in charge, whether it be high school or college, that's important to me. You guys have heard me say this from my first day interview, job, whatever, it seems like 57 years ago. I believe in pressuring the rim. I believe in a high possession game. I don't believe in just shooting threes unless the ball goes inside first. And you got to pressure the rim different ways. You got to post it, you got to drive it, you got to cut it, and you got to rebound it. And our team is starting to get to a place where we kind of do a little bit of all. You know, offensive rebounding, something that we picked up kind of, heck, when you miss as many shots as we missed our first couple of years here, you better offensive rebound. So we offensive rebounding was the first thing that we probably got good at from that perspective. Posting, Mike was like the only guy we had that could post, and when we played 6'6" guys, he was successful. But when we played 6'11", 7 foot, like the other day, posting him against those guys, he wasn't very successful, and that's not very good coaching. So posting has become something that, by repetition, guys getting, the Lithuanians getting stronger, better conditioned, learning something new, having more depth with the young guys in practice. It's something that we're doing. We're driving it better. That's where PJ's helping us, and Darius is healthy. He's doing a better job driving. Stroman, as of late, is getting to the free throw line by driving the ball. Dwayne's driving it. Dwayne now has to learn, you can't go up and 6'2", 6'3" guard. Can't go in and challenge 7 foot guys that are standing under the rim waiting for you. That's not a very intelligent play. He's got to learn how to shoot that 8 foot shot when he drives the ball. Now, if the bigs step away from the rim, then you got to make another move and go. But he's being aggressive driving the ball. Mindaugas, the adjustment I spoke about, getting him out of the way and drive the ball. Mike has become a better driver. We're doing that. And every once in a while, we cut it. Every once in a while, we get a cut to the rim that creates pressure on the rim. So when you do all those things, I think you end up shooting free throws. And I think that to me is one of the only relevant stats in the game of basketball. I want to make more free throws than you shoot. At the end of the day, I feel if you win that battle, you win most games.
I know you're a football guy too, so I wanted to know if you had a pick for the game tonight. And given what you said earlier about the crowd at Alabama if the Tide win, I wonder if that makes you lean towards maybe rooting for Clemson a little bit tonight.
You're going to make me hedge. I'm hoping to be able to watch a game. I don't know if I will or will not. As much as I love football, I also have a job to do. And with us traveling tomorrow, we practice just a little earlier, so I have to be prepared for practice by watching film. And I don't want to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning watching film. I'd like to do it at a normal time today. Those two teams are unbelievable. I've kind of stopped watching in early November is when I kind of stopped paying attention to football. But those two teams, what they've done, I hear everything Clemson and the whole thing from my 4 years because we live here and we know what they are. To see how that program's continued to grow and grow and grow. And here's the thing that's impressive to me, because it's kind of what we battle in basketball in our conference. They haven't paid a single lick of attention to the outside noise about where they play football at. That's been irrelevant. Go win. Go win. And they've put themselves in the national championship game because they went out and they consumed with their inside noise, and they went out and won and proven that they can go out and beat anyone in the country. And then, Saban, in Alabama, it's the way that they go about their business. It's hard to get better. Getting better is hard. When you get to the mountaintop and continue to get better and stay up there, wow, that's because that means everyone else in the country is coming at your legs every single day and trying to chop you down, and they've been able to sustain and stay there. It's something else. I'll say this at the end. And Gamecock fans might get mad with me for saying this. It's hard for if Clemson was playing against a team from any other league in the country, I'd root for Clemson. But I got to pull for the SEC. I took this job because I believe in the SEC, and I know I coach a different sport, but I got a lot of respect to Dabo and their staff and those players. Watching them play is unbelievable. But I've got to go with the SEC.